What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to get into another throwback race. In the 1992 season, the Premier Supercross class had a pretty cool story, and specifically the season finale at the LA Coliseum had a very cool race and story behind it. I just thought it would be cool to go and look back at the history of Supercross and some of these cool storylines with the week off due to Loretta Lynn's, and I just really think this is a cool story to tell. So looking back at the 1992 season, there was some pretty good battles between Jean-Michel Bayle, Jeff Stanton, and Damon Bradshaw, and there were some other guys getting in there too, but we're here to talk about the final race at the LA Coliseum, and what it really boiled down to was a Jeff Stanton versus Damon Bradshaw battle for the title. Bradshaw was 8 points up on Stanton, and he kind of had the advantage. He had won 9 races going into the finals, where Jeff Stanton had only won 2. Now, before we can get too far into the race story, we do have to take a look back at the season just a little bit to really understand how we got there. So we have to take a look back at the Indianapolis Supercross round, which realistically is the only reason that Jeff Stanton was able to be in a close points battle with Damon Bradshaw in the first place.
Got to be extra special. Preparing for the drop of the gate. Engines beginning to rev. Can Bradshaw beat the Hondas and regain his form? We'll know in a moment as number 4 prepares for the launch. The charge to turn number 1. The first man there is Damon Bradshaw, and a huge pileup. Doug Dubach, the one big name involved. His teammate Damon Bradshaw out front early. And most of this season, that's been the death knell for the rest of these guys.
And I think they know it. They certainly are not about to let him get away. Jeff Stanton right now has one thing in mind: keep Bradshaw in sight. Now, the question will be whether or not Stanton will strike early or if he will follow Bradshaw. My opinion, Dave, is he needs to strike and strike quickly, because look who is coming.
Number 1 into third spot, Jean-Michel Bayle. Number 3, Kudrowski is fourth. And Mike Larocco, the hometown favorite, runs fifth. As the rest of the field streamed through, you saw Matasevich and Ward, the other 2 Kawasaki's, deep in the pack. Let's make a note about the 2 Honda victories in the last 2 Supercrosses. Daytona is an oddball. It's nothing like a traditional stadium Supercross track. Jeff Stanton beat Damon Bradshaw there in a hand-to-hand battle. Last week, when Bradshaw lost in Charlotte, it was because of an early crash. He came up through the pack from behind. The Hondas still have yet to pass Damon Bradshaw, run him down from behind on this kind of a racetrack. So that's the test they face tonight.
Well, this is the first opportunity that
the whole shot. Stanton takes the inside line down through the whoop-de-doos. He's got position as they double jump into the left-hander. Stanton makes the pass and takes the lead. First time this year.
I think at the last second there, Bradshaw thought that he was going to be able to cut back to the inside of Stanton, but there was no way to go. That was a good pass.
These two had a battle like this at Daytona, but again, we make the point that was a very different racetrack, very much a Jeff Stanton racetrack. This is a tight indoor stadium course, the kind on which Damon Bradshaw dominated early in the year. Bradshaw's out of shape there.
Now, Bradshaw's really trying, working awfully hard now to catch back up to Stanton. You've got to wonder if possibly maybe Bradshaw's motorcycle is not quite up to snuff. Now, don't forget, they had that bike tuned to perfection. He crashed in the heat race. They tore the entire front end off the motorcycle, Dave, and replaced it, and there was not a lot of time after that to get the suspension really dialed in and matched.
They have been scrambling all night in the Damon Bradshaw pit because of that bad crash in the heat race, and perhaps that may be one of the reasons Jeff Stanton was able to make a move that he has not been able to make all year long up until now. The pass on Bradshaw for the lead in an indoor race. Down they head through the whoop-de-doos in the interval holding, couple of bike lengths perhaps, back to Bradshaw. They are not pulling away from Jean-Michel Bayle. We'll see
a history, I think we should call it that, of setting back and watching. No, look at this. Here comes Bradshaw right back on the inside. Oh, and he almost took them both out. What a move. Bradshaw almost got the job done, number 1. Number 2, if he didn't get the job done, he'd have knocked Stanton right off the track and him with it. That was a good move, and they are really going at it now.
Looked like he had position there to make the same pass Stanton made earlier. Damon couldn't pull it off. Stanton hangs on, but he's under intense pressure. Bradshaw's after him. Stanton coming into this 1992 season. Damon Bradshaw appeared to have made that discussion history as he dominated early on. But now Stanton and his teammate Bale have come to light. They are within 16 points of the series leader Damon Bradshaw as we come to the Hoosier Dome in Indianapolis.
Well, this one is far from over. Damon Bradshaw drops back again, but he seemingly is able to pull up to Stanton at will. And again, Dave, I'll point out, I think that he is waiting until the last couple, 3 laps before he makes a really hard charge and tries to take over that #1 spot.
Stanton is, Bradshaw's in trouble. Bradshaw with an unbelievable end-over-end crash. Bradshaw is...
We're going to have to go back and take another look at it, but Bradshaw looked like he lost control up in the air and just nosedived into the ground.
He is out of the race. Bradshaw is making no effort to get back into action. Bradshaw, take another look.
Here he is. He'll crop up. There he is. Look, he's off the motorcycle. He tries to get off the bike, and it looked like maybe the bike did, but the results were the same. He got wound up and twisted with the motorcycle, and he doesn't know whether to hold his leg or his ribs. And
look, going to try to go back out or not. His team technician there checking out the bike.
As he'd be sitting there, I guarantee it. That was Bob Oliver, one of the Yamaha.
In control, and will turn for home and win the Hoosier Dome Supercross. Stanton, second win in 3 starts. Bale takes the runner-up spot, and the headline story on this one will be big crash for Bradshaw.
So while Stanton did beat Bradshaw at Daytona, as the announcers had even mentioned, it was kind of a different track. Obviously, we all know Daytona is always quite a bit different than the traditional Supercross tracks. So he did beat him there, but that was the only time he had beat him this year so far. So to see him catch and pass Bradshaw like that seemed like it kind of threw him off his guard, and eventually he did end up making that mistake and going down hard. And he did end up finishing, which was pretty gnarly, but he only got 19th place, so he really didn't score any points. Now, Bradshaw did rebound quite nicely. He ended up winning 4 more Supercrosses going into the season finale, and he also won 2 motocross rounds, one at Hangtown and one at High Point, all before getting to the final round at the LA Coliseum, where he was able to get an 8-point advantage over Jeff Stanton. So moving on to race day at the Coliseum, it's been a long Supercross season. They've done 15 rounds. They're already 5 rounds deep into the motocross series. They just left Redbud the weekend before. So as I had alluded to earlier, things were kind of trending towards Bradshaw's favor. He had won the majority of the Supercross races leading up to this race, and he had an 8-point lead over Jeff Stanton. Things didn't get any better for Stanton during the heat race either. As he was trying to go through the whoop section, he ended up making a pretty big mistake, and then his teammate Jean-Michel Bale ended up running into him, and they both went down, and neither of them transferred out of the heat race. Bradshaw didn't do exceptionally well in his heat race either, but he ended up finishing 3rd, which was more than enough to get him into the main event. Now moving on to the semis, both Stanton and Jean-Michel Bale ended up making it out of their semi and into the main event, so no real problem there. The concern was more that Jeff Stanton's riding was a little bit shaky in the heat race, and he didn't look like somebody who was really going to try to contest for the championship. So now it's main event time, everything's on the line. There's really nothing else I can say to add to it at this point. Let's just watch them race.
If there is a key to this race, it's Bradshaw's performance in the early going, I feel. Bradshaw needs to go for the lead. He can't settle. He can't ride for that number 3 position. If he does, then I think he has an opportunity to get into trouble. If he rides his own race and really goes for it all the way, then he's got this one in the bag.
Well, he says he's trying to treat it like just another race. We'll know in a moment. The sign drops, and the gate will too, and we'll be underway with the series finale. The charge to turn 1. Let's see who gets out front. Bradshaw did not get a great start. There's a tangle back in the pack. Stanton grabs the lead. Bradshaw is 4th. Ahead of him, Guy Cooper and Brian Swink battle for the 2nd spot. Stanton is in position right now to clinch the championship.
And Mike Kidrowski has moved past Bradshaw. He's taken over the number 4 position. That dropped Bradshaw back 1 more notch. Bradshaw is riding conservative. He can't do that, Dave. He has got to go for that number 1 position quickly, or he'll get into a rut.
Jean-Michel Bale, meanwhile, is far back in the pack. Look for him here as they clear the finish line jump on lap 1, and we don't see him inside the top 10. Bradshaw goes back after Kudrowski. He needs to be going to the front instead of to the back. He is riding 5th as they head up the peristyle on lap 1 with Jeff Stanton, the leader. And we've got a rider down.
Rider number 30, Larry Brooks, and you saw to the inside of the peristyle, rider number 1, Jean-Michel Bale. He was about in 7th place. Here's the battle up front. Guy Cooper is giving Jeff Stanton fits. Look at this.
Keep in mind that both of these guys came through the semifinals, so they didn't have great spots on the gate, but they got good starts. And Cooper, who was phenomenal in the semi, now challenges Stanton, who is in position, if this race ended right now, to win the championship. He's doing exactly what he needs to do.
Well, the rider, he's got to pass Kedrowski or he's got to pass Cooper, and he'll wrap up the title with that third-place finish no matter what Stanton does. And he's riding well right now, a good controlled race, and I don't see how you can keep him out of the top three, Dave.
The issue, of course, could be Jean-Michel Bayle. He is expected to...
Cooper's running in a number 2 position, and both Kedrowski and Bradshaw are catching him, and here comes Bayle. Now, this is going to be interesting. What is Jean-Michel Bayle going to do? He's out of the chase for the championship. I don't see him catching Stanton, but he could be a factor in helping his teammate. Remember, though, what he said in the early going? He said, no, I'm not helping. He's going to have to do it himself.
We'll be back with more right after this. As Bradshaw got hung up in a rut, Bayle probably could have jammed inside him, but elected not to. And so Bradshaw continues to ride fourth, 1 position short of what he needs to clinch the crown. And Bayle is back there, I don't know, stalking him, shadowing him, or just watching him. He's certainly not pressing him.
It's almost like Jean-Michel Bayle is saying to himself, hey, I'm not going to be a factor in the championship. I'm not going to win it, so I'm going to stay out of it. I'm not going to get between my own teammates, Stanton and Bradshaw. I'll let them settle it. Funny.
In the runner-up spot, remember the arithmetic. If Stanton wins, Bradshaw must be third, and he is back about 5 to 6 bike lengths behind Cooper, still stuck in 4th spot.
The question has to be, which is the easier of the 2 riders to pass, Mike Kedrowski or Guy Cooper? Normally, I might have to say Cooper, because Kedrowski's a little bit on the wild side, but today Cooper has been all over the track, and I would hesitate to say this, but Cooper could end up taking the 2 of them out, before this is over.
Well, Bradshaw's got to be thinking about that, but mostly he's got to be thinking pass. He's not afraid of anybody out there. He's the most aggressive guy on the racetrack, and tonight he's just having trouble putting things together. He needs to pass somebody.
He does. Cooper is in that loose mode. Man, when he's going like that, the guy is just flat flying. But sometimes he lets himself get into trouble because of that. He's holding it down well now. But my hat's off to him. He's doing a heck of a job.
We watched Jeff Stanton. I thought he had surrendered the championship at San Jose when he let Bradshaw catch him from behind and run him down. He has come back tonight doing exactly what he's got to do. That's the subject of Art Ekman's report.
As the contenders vie for the extra $100,000 and the 1992 Supercross title, Keith McCarty, the Yamaha team manager right behind me, has already pre-calculated what it will take for his rider Damon Bradshaw to win the title.
For instance, on his chart, if Stanton is in 6th, Bradshaw needs a 12th to become the Supercross champion. Jean-Michel Bayle is also figured on that chart.
Well, crashes or mechanical failure are always unpredictable elements in this, but for the moment, Stanton's making the arithmetic easy. He's leading the race. He's letting Bradshaw know exactly what he's got to do. He's got to pass.
Oh, and Damon Bradshaw almost came unglued. He hit a Bayle on the side of the racetrack. Talk about ragged. Now, that slowed him down considerably. He's got to stop and think. Am I pushing too hard? What in the world am I doing? That was almost a tragedy there for Bradshaw.
I thought 1992's biggest disappointment in terms of sports would be Dan O'Brien's failure to make it to the Olympics. Certainly the Reebok people thought that. The Dan and Dave shootout that didn't happen. But for Team Yamaha, it's going to be this night right here. Damon Bradshaw stuck in 4th, pursued but not challenged by Jean-Michel Bayle, is in the process of losing the 1992 Supercross Championship.
We have seen so many things this season, so many ups, so many downs, that I'm not going to speculate that it's all lost, because we still have Kedrowski, we still have Stanton, we still have Cooper, and they have to ride error-free from here on out. They bobble, and Bradshaw's going to be back in it, but he is not helping his cause. And I would point out again, Dave, that the only one helping his cause right now is Jean-Michel Bayle.
Bayle could certainly make matters worse for Bradshaw if he passed him. He's shown no inclination to do that. We can only speculate about Bayle's motivation, or in this case, lack of motivation. But keep in mind that he thinks Jeff Stanton knocked him off at San Jose in the next-to-last series race. Perhaps this is a form of retaliation. In any case, all of this is happening far behind the 3rd place that Damon Bradshaw has to have to win that championship. Unless somebody else crashes or blows up, Stanton is going to be the champion.
Yeah, we've been harping on...
It wouldn't have surprised me a bit. The one thing I did not expect Damon Bradshaw to do was to come here and be mediocre.
The only thing I can think, Dave, is that he was riding, and look, here comes Jeff Emig from out of the pack. He has caught them. Bale saw that, and Bale said, goodbye, I'm not messing around with Emig. I'm going to go ahead and make the pass. Look at him pull away. He was ready to leave. Now that is throwing a little bit of salt onto the wound.
Just one observation about Jean-Michel Bale. This is the biggest race in the life of Damon Bradshaw and Jeff Stanton. The biggest race in Jean-Michel Bale's life is next weekend when he goes in road races in Europe. He's done with Supercross. We'll be back to see if Jeff Stanton can pull it out right after this. And focusing on the objective. And now Stanton will come to the final checkered flag. Only his third of the season. Compare that to 9 for his rival. But consistency. He didn't crash it away. He rode consistently, and he is number 1.
Look at that. He raised his arm. He's going to park. He knows he has won it, but he's going to wait up there to see for sure. Look at that. Boy, is he happy or what?
This is the stone face. This is the guy who never shows any emotion. I guarantee you, this is the biggest moment in Jeff Stanton's life. Let's enjoy it with the crowd here in Los Angeles.
That was Dave Arnold behind him, and Dave was up there to make sure they didn't screw up any of the scores, I think.
For Bradshaw, what can you say? Failure to perform under pressure. When the critical moment came, he didn't have what it took. This man did, and so Team Honda celebrates Stanton's 3rd championship.
I don't know about you, but I thought that was a pretty cool race. Much respect to all the competitors, especially Stanton and Bradshaw. This is just another example of why you never give up. It would have been easy for Stanton to just count himself out, especially when he was laying on the ground in his heat race, but he came out there and he came out swinging, and he ended up winning the Premier Supercross Championship. So anyways, I just wanted to come in here and share my thoughts on this race right here. I thought it was pretty cool and thought it was worth bringing back up. I'm curious what you guys think. Do you miss some of the old school style Supercross, or do you prefer the new style? Personally, I can really appreciate both of them, but I do feel like some of these old school battles just get completely overlooked, so that's why I wanted to draw attention to this one. Let me know if you want to see more of these in the future. That's going to go ahead and do it. I'll see you guys in the next video.